Welcome to another episode of the About Mansfield Consumer Advice Series. I'm Steve Casillo. We appreciate you being here today. And as always, on Fridays, we bring in our financial philosopher. That would be Phillip Washington Jr. He is the CIO. That would be the Chief Investment Officer with Stonehill Wealth Management. He's also the host of the Wealth Building Made Simple podcast. Today, we are talking about removing mental barriers in wealth building. What's holding you back? As we do every Friday, we bring in our financial guru, our financial philosopher, our financial philosopher, Phillip Washington Jr. Say hello to the Mansfieldians.
What's going on, Mansfieldians?
And as he is here to bring us yet another 10-minute nugget of information. By the way, I mentioned this to you off the air. Today is Pack Your Lunch Day. Did you pack your lunch today?
I packed it inside my refrigerator.
You work from home. I used to work from home. I live 3 minutes from where I work, so it's almost like working from home. I go home probably 4 out of the 5 days a week, and so our lunch is already packed.
Yeah, no, super simple. I like that.
In the frigid air. Yeah. So today we're talking about removing mental barriers in wealth building. And really what that means to me is that wealth is a mindset.
100%. All barriers 100%. Are mentally created, right? I mean, I think that there's, if you look out in the world and you look at, I like to use somebody like Jay-Z, because when and I can use other ones, but when anybody ever says, "Oh, I can't do," I say, "Do you know where Jay-Z came from? Like, do you know like his background and what he rose himself out of?" So, and like he was the epitome of what you might consider a tough place for upward mobility, right? Meaning he grew up in a time where police were, or at least the legal system was not kind to black males, right? Like less kind than what you might consider today.
Yeah.
Terrible education system, one parent home, not safe streets environment, and rose him up to become like a billionaire, hanging out with the elitist of the elite, right? Because like NFL football owners are not only rich, they're like literally royalty. Like they're the kings, and lords of today's society, because everybody wants to own an NFL team.
Sure.
And so but he rose himself through mindset. It wasn't through a war. It wasn't through force. It wasn't through power. It wasn't through a handout. It wasn't because his daddy was rich. It wasn't because he was part of the upward crust race of the society. Like it was just the evolution of mindset, period.
How do we get into the mindset? Because those that have no money tend to stay with not having any money. Those who have a lot of money tend to stay with a lot of money. And so how do you go from using Jay-Z as an example, from poverty or low income to becoming a billionaire?
Yeah, it goes from working with the two aspects of our mind and blending them in harmony, right? So the two aspects of mind, and this is mirrored throughout all creation. So you got the quantum world and the physical world, right? That just represents the mind of imagination and the mind of reason. And so the mind of reason or wisdom is just the focuser, right? It's the awareness, or it's what we give our attention to. The mind of imagination is infinite possibilities, right? And so it's easier to use the mind of reason because we have momentum, right? In physical form, right? Meaning if you want to nerd out on science, like physical form, is and I won't get into all the technical details, but it's heavily weighted towards reason, right? Towards taking something that's invisible and putting it into form. And that's what reason does. Reason analyzes form, right? We look at what is and we analyze it. That's what reason is. Imagination is like infinite possibilities. So it's the creative aspect of mind, the mind that is inspired and thinks of things that have never been, and communicates it to the, helps the mind of reason shapes that idea and then translates it into form. And so what a lot of people do is they will try to create from a reasoned mind, meaning they'll say, I'm looking at my environment. I don't have any money. I don't have any money. And you go, well, as long as you look at that environment, you're telling the imagination to recreate that environment. You have to first, like dematerialize your world, right? Which is like meditation is good for that, but it's suspend your beliefs on what currently is.
Yeah.
And that's a process, like momentum is a principle of energy that also goes throughout all life, meaning like compound interest, right? If you have momentum of poverty, especially if it's generational, you got a lot of unwinding to do. So it's gonna be a longer process for you if you're reading a book and you start from day one to listen to a podcast and you go, oh, I've been thinking 40 years of poverty thoughts. Today, I learned this principle that I could change my mindset, and tomorrow I'm going to be rich. No. You have to first slow the momentum of that, and then you got to build momentum in the other direction. And it's not like, a plane going however fast it goes in one direction can't just stop on a dime and go the other direction.
Right. It's like losing weight. You're not going to lose weight overnight.
100%.
100%. And then with the imagination, again, infinite, how about this? If you can see it, you can be it.
Yeah, especially in the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, because here's a good exercise that I like to...
That, by the way, is my next T-shirt.
Yeah, you should definitely do that T-shirt.
If you can see it, you can be it.
But that's a good exercise to see. I last night was I like to expand my imagination by journaling, writing out. Meditation is good, but I was on a spreadsheet, writing out different businesses that I own and want to own, and then writing out revenue goals, for the businesses that I envision in the future, which may seem super easy, but you would be shocked at how hard it is to be honest with yourself and say, all right, you can write on a paper and say, I want businesses that do, I'm making up a number, 100 million of revenue.
Yeah.
Right. And then you feel your thoughts. So when you write it and you go 100 million of revenue, if you're in tune with your feelings and your thoughts, you may say, that don't feel realistic. Right. So when I'm journaling and I'm doing it, I'm expanding the numbers in my mind and saying, all right, how do I feel about that? Right. Do I feel that's possible? Not do I think it's possible, because I can write any number on the paper, but do I feel it's possible? And it's allowing me to know where I am, or how harmonious is my mind of reason with my imagination. And so last night I got further than I ever got in the exercise, but that's for me how I've continued to expand where I'm going, is just continue to push those boundaries, right? And just pushing my beliefs beyond where I currently am. And I've learned that from very successful people that have pushed boundaries. Elon Musk is my hero in that.
Sure.
I don't think he even understands what the word boundary means.
In the couple of minutes we have left, how important is goal setting in building wealth? And to give you an example here, that I could say, I want to be wealthy by the end of the year, but that's an empty goal.
Mm-hmm.
I want $1 million in my savings account by the end of the year. Now that's a definite goal. And how important is that in building wealth?
So I think you got to tweak it though. This may not be a quick answer, but I'm gonna answer as fast as possible.
Sure.
When you have a goal, it's important to pay attention to how you feel about the goal. So for me, if I say I want something I don't have, and then I put a time frame on it, I feel how I feel, and if that time frame gives me resistance, right? If I don't feel exhilarated about it, right, and I just feel neutral, right? I don't feel, it's just or I feel negative, or I sense doubt, then I go, all right, remove the time frame, right? Then I go, I want $1 million, right? And then if I go, man, that don't feel right either. Okay, then I go more general. Then I go, I want wealth, right? Cool. Problem is wealth. And then I go, oh wait, I forgot. I am wealthy and it's expanding.
Yeah.
I am wealthy and it's expanding. And that feels easier. And then as I fill myself up with that easier feeling, then I can go more general. Then I want $1 million, right? And I keep going until like my thoughts and feelings are in harmony. And that's where I know from my exercise where my how far my vision is in the current moment. So it's a unique way to goal set, but it helps me.
It's removing the barriers.
Removing the barriers.
If someone wanted to reach out to Phillip Washington Jr. to find out how they can remove their barriers, their mental barriers, how can they reach out to you?
Best way is stonehillwealthmanagement.com. That is stonehillwealthmanagement.com.
That is Phillip Washington Jr. We do this every Friday morning right here on the About Mansfield Consumer Advice Series. Phillip, have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. You too.
We appreciate you listening to the About Mansfield Consumer Advice Series. By the way, if you own a business and you are interested in being a part of the Consumer Advice Series, if you have the knowledge to give information in 10-minute increments to the consumers, shoot me an email to info@aboutmansfield.com. Again, that is info@aboutmansfield.com. We'll tell you how we can get you all set up. Appreciate it. We do it again next week right here on the podcast.